Peace and Grand Rising. Today is September the 6th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on the Greco-Roman calendar. We are here to, on our national call, to address any issues that we are having and also to discuss remedies for the things that are going on our land as well. And so we always keep an open forum so that we can discuss the remedies openly and see what we come up with as a nation. And I have found that we always have the answer. One of the things that's going on our land has been a little bit of rioting and things like that, and of course it is all scripted. You know, in my sleep, when I was sleeping more, I used to hear ministers and politicians and scientists, those doing business as, I used to hear them talk about race riots in the future. And I used to think, why do they, because I thought I was black, so I thought they might have been talking about us. And I thought, well, why do they keep talking about that? We're not out in the streets doing anything. You know, we're not rioting. We're doing fine. And there's nothing really that I can see that they haven't done already that would cause us to get out in the streets. They were already doing all types of craziness where the copper colored, you know, Moors are concerned. But at that time that I was thinking this, I didn't know that I was a Moor. And I said all of that to say this, Moors, we actually we are to be congratulated on a number of uplifting actions that we have taken on our land. We're to be congratulated for some things that we've done or not done. And in specific, I'm referring to us not being confused and feeling like we have to get out there and ruin our land. Our focus is on nation building, 100%. It's not on anything that they're doing out there because we know that that's just distraction while we continue the Grand Rising. And so we're going to continue staying focused on the Grand Rising. All of that stuff that's going on out there has nothing to do with us per se. But where it does have something to do with us will be really, it's doing what it's supposed to do while we continue to stand. Okay. So you're to be congratulated. We are all to be congratulated on knowing the difference and not getting out there in the streets and doing all types of craziness when we should really be focused on studying, unifying, coming together as often as possible, and letting our pens and our mouths do the work while we continue to stand. That brings up another point. I was on social media the other day, and I want to address something that came onto my page during Grand Sheikh Street Bay's talk at House of Reawakening Minds this past Friday. One of the Moorish nobles put the following. He said he put this comment on my page because I did a viewing party with Grand Sheikh's video. But he says, these times make me feel very helpless. The U.S. elections has nothing to do with us Moors because we are under occupation by a foreign country. So what do we as Moors do? We are still being affected by all these things, even as we are working to gain the knowledge about ourselves as Moors. What do we do now to better our lives and hopefully stay alive? Okay. And the ancestors have made it clear to me that there is a particular segment of the population that's feeling down and like there's no hope or some hopeless feeling. This particular post, it caught my attention because it actually affirms a couple of things. First, number one, we understand that while we're making this transition, we are as far outside of capitalism as we have ever been. We are all the way outside of that system, okay? And so he was feeling disconnected from that system. He was feeling disconnected from that system. And he was also feeling like, well, I'm disconnected from that system, but what system am I connected to? And the answer to that is, and this is what I told him. I said, thank you for this comment. I said, it is affirmation that we've successfully removed ourselves from the fake fiat capitalist system, and we no longer feel that we are part of it because we now know that we are part and parcel of our own sovereign, original, indigenous government. And that meanwhile, that the fake corporate system has crashed and it's burning. And that's what he was feeling. He was feeling like this system is no more. So what do we do now? And so I told him, I said, we have successfully shifted our sovereign focus to building our own nation. Any sovereign Moorish American who feels the way you are feeling is actually very encouraging to us. You're very tuned in spiritually. And he was tuned in spiritually because in his spirit, he was feeling like he doesn't feel like he's a part of that system. And he's not. We really actually never have been. That system is subject to us. We were not birthed from that system. So that also proves that the issuing of birth certificates from that system was not lawful because we were not birthed in that system. We've always been sovereign, original, indigenous heirs. The stargates that we came from were sovereign on the day of our being born. And so I said, you are very tuned in spiritually, and this is, again, a continuation of my response to him. I said, now tune in to your nation physically. Okay, so he had successfully pulled himself out in the spirit, and then it was starting to manifest in his physical. I said, now tune into your nation physically. Join as many calls and live video meetings as you can so you can tap into the energy and synergy that your brothers and sisters are continuing to build on. We are thriving and flourishing through the work of our own hands for our own nation. Stay focused on your nation and bring your gifts and talents with you and get to work with us. We meet 3 times a week and stay connected otherwise as well. Sundays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are our video meeting days. Bring your sovereign study and energy with you to put with ours. Peace and grand rising to the most powerful nation ever to exist. And so if you're feeling disconnected from that system, you are to be congratulated because that means in your spirit you have set yourself away from that which is being destroyed. That system is finished, and we all know that. They know, and they are even saying that they're finished. There are some actors pretending like that system isn't finished. They're just acting. There's nothing behind them at all. No meat, no power, no nothing behind them. The only thing they have is a television or some show or something like that. You know, some video that they put out there to make it look like they have something behind them when they don't. Because the only thing that they did have initially was our full faith and credit. Okay, so if you're feeling disconnected from that system, congratulations, you are disconnected from it. So that feeling is absolutely valid, and I'm hoping, and it's not really a hope thing, I already know that the majority of us are going to be feeling fully disconnected from it. Those who don't feel fully disconnected already. We should have been feeling, and we actually felt disconnected even when we were asleep. You know, we were feeling disconnected from that system even then in our sleep. And so we thought that by marching and by petitioning and by voting differently when we were asleep and all of that foolish nonsense, we thought that that was going to make us feel more connected, because they used to just say, oh, get involved when you feel disconnected from, you know, whatever was in that system. They even said that in the churches. If you don't feel connected, get involved, and you will feel connected. Well, the same thing goes for here, but even more so here, because you know through your own study that this is who we really are, and that all of that other was fraud and fakery. So we should have been feeling disconnected there. But we are a nation, we are the law, and we are the government. And so it is imperative that each one of us bring our talents and our gifts with us and get involved in our nation. Whatever it is that you love to do, do that for your nation, because it can only assist and help and grow and expand when you do it for this nation that you are blood covenant birthright part and parcel of. So I wanted to read that out, because to me that's really profound, because it tells us, it gives us a gauge as to where we are. When the Moors are speaking, especially again when we hear from you on social media and in these calls, when we hear from you, we that lets us know. Just a moment. That lets us know what we feel and what we need to talk about. Empress Shaddai, there's a lot of noise in your background, so I keep muting you because there's a lot of noise in your background. Empress Shaddai. Okay, I'll have to go ahead and continue to mute. There's a reason why some are feeling that way, but it's up to us as a nation to come together and create that synchronicity and the unity. If you're not feeling it, that means you're not involved enough with your nation. That means that you're not bringing your talents in fully. There's more that you can do. You may be doing something, but there's more that can be done. Okay? And then another thing about this awakening, Islam, Justice Malik, another thing about this awakening that we need to be aware of as we move through it, because sometimes things can look one way and be a totally different way, especially where the actors are concerned. Sometimes when you look at when we take our focus off of what we're doing and focus on the fake, it will look like they're still up doing whatever they were doing, okay? But then it seems like the more active we get, okay, the more it will look like, oh, they're really finished. They know they're finished, you know. And so, and that's actually a truth. That's the way this works, is that the more we do in terms of our activity, demonstration, and study, and then demonstrate based on our study, and then come together and unify and plan to meet, because we do have some meetings coming up where we're wanting to meet in person, because we want that energy and synergy that is exchanged when we come together. I'm looking in the chat, just a moment. Okay, I'll respond to that in just a moment. But sometimes it may look one way out there when it's really, we know they're done. We know they're done. And so I said that to say this: the Great Awakening happens like contractions, like one is about to give birth. And I said this the other day, but I want to say it again, because so that you will know what you're seeing and know what you're feeling when you're feeling these things. Sometimes it will feel like the activity is on high in our nation, and then other times you might feel like you might wake up one day and feel like you're looking around and everything looks similar to 2 or 3 months ago with regard to the fake, the fake corporate actors. Okay. All you have to do when you're feeling that way is, again, just get active. Start studying. Start writing down what you're feeling and how to remedy it. And when you write down how to remedy it, share that with someone else. And then that it will take that whole thing, it will change on a dime. And then you can look back at them that afternoon, and they will show that they have fallen completely apart. There's only so much acting they can do without resources. Okay. And so, is mine compared to Islam. And so in the chat, there are a couple of things that we will address in just a moment. But I do want to say this also. If you're going to grow more, you have to be willing to change. If you're going to grow, you have to be willing to change and flow with the changes and make the changes. This is the Grand Rising, and there are some signs that fight change. If you know that you're a fixed sign and that change makes you uncomfortable, know that about yourself and then say, okay, I'm going to have to tap into my Leo energy or my Aquarius energy, because those energies can change. There are other energies in the whatever is in your astrological component or your makeup. Reach into it so that you can make the changes. Look at your birth chart and see what it says about you, okay? And one thing that I did recently is I pulled my father's birth sign, and I pulled from my mother's birth sign. And my mother's is my ascending, and my father's is my descending. And it just, I'm able to pull from either one of those just because I know where I come from. I'm able to pull at any time from those two signs. One is Sagittarius and one is Aquarius. Okay, and so, and then I'm Leo, and I'm not afraid to put that information out there because it is what it is. It's out there on the public record anyway. But I'm able to pull from either one of those when I need to pull from them, if I need to, So do the same for yourself if you have not done. Yes, in the chat, yes, draw from the source. My mother, when I read her chart and I know how she dealt with things, it gives me strength. Do the same for yourself. Do that for yourself. And even if you feel like your parents were not the best parents, there's something you can pull from them, because guess what? You came from them, and that's a great thing. So they actually had sense enough to make you and let you grow and become who you are today. So that's, if that's the best thing they did, pull from that and let that be your strength as we continue, so that you are able to navigate and change and be fluid as we go through. I sometimes see when we talk about the different processes and things, I see more that are fighting the change, and they want to stay with the past and stay stuck in one place, and it prolongs things for them, and we're not going to leave them. We're going to keep moving, and then when they're ready, we're ready. But we must keep growing and striving and changing and rising. That is where our high sciences and astrology and cosmology come in at. Okay, so And then also, really quickly, just a quick exercise. When you don't know what to do, if you come in across a situation, and I've done this before, and I do it regularly, and it's so helpful. And I wanted to share it with you. And if anyone else has anything that's helped them, please share it. When you don't know what to do, I suggest you try this, and it's a visualization technique. So what I do is close my eyes and visualize my heart, because that's my heart chakra. That's where the chakra is. And then I visualize the energies from my ancestors coming straight from them into my heart chakra, wherever I see them at. And then I visualize them coming into my heart chakra and living there and deciding that this is where they want to stay. Okay. And they're so powerful that whenever I want to do something, I visualize them in my heart chakra, and with them there's nothing we can't do. And I know that. I'm aware of that because I've seen their work. We've all seen their work. And we are their work. We are them returned. So then once I visualize them in my heart chakra, then I can close my eyes again and say, show me what to do. Show me what I should do. And then I get quiet, and either I will study or I'll just wait. Go do something, go to the waterfront, and meditate or whatever. And within 24 hours, I always have the answer. Within 24 hours, I always have the answer. I am being tested right now in a particular area, and I'm actually really excited about the test because I already know what the outcome of the test is going to be, but I got to figure out what to do about it. And when I figure out what to do about it, I'm going to tell you about the test that I'm going through right now. I'm excited because it's what we've been waiting for anyway, so I have to do it. And I look forward to testing at any hand anyway, because I already know our ancestors won't give us a test until they think we're ready, until they know we're ready for it. So I want to go back to the chat, because there were a couple of things in the chat that I wanted to, that there was a question that came in the chat. Isn't the system still being something, I don't know what that is, from the full faith and credit of the Moors who are still asleep? You know what? All it took was one of us. So the question is that system still benefiting from the full faith and credit of the Moors who are still asleep? No, it's not. Nope, it's not. All it took was for the earth to know that there was at least one more who would cut all corporate ties and begin the process. And we already know that there are many more than just one sovereign who has determined that they're going to remain disconnected from that system. And once we disconnect from the system, it has to go, because you can't see, the unum sanctum that we have put out says that there can't be two heads. So even if there are Moors that are asleep over there, even though there are Moors that are asleep over there, because there are so many of us that are awake, and we're actually utilizing our own credit. In other words, we've frozen the credit on that side, and now we are working our way through using the credit, our own credit, instead of it going through someone who's been delegated the authority, quote unquote, to use it. Because that's all we were doing, was delegating authority to use our credit to them. And we didn't even mean to do that. That was not our intention. Our intention was to use our own credit. But now we have to know how to do that. And so now that we have frozen everything, that's why, again, they don't have anything, over there. That you're not going to see a whole bunch of resources and stuff flying around like it used to be flying around. They are hurting over there in terms of resources. They cannot throw big $5 million parties and all of that stuff. The credit it's a wrap on that. And so there can't be two heads. There has to be one at all times. And since we are standing and we are governing, we are the law, all Moors, that's all Moors, then they can't use any of that stuff. So right now all they're doing is just buying time, basically. And they're not even buying time because they don't have anything to buy it with. So they're just watching us make our moves, and they're making their statements about those moves from their perspective, but that's all they can do. There's nothing else that they can do besides just us continue to stand and us continue to do what we've been doing and to continue to grow and rise and change and demonstrate and continue to unify. Our unity is on high, and it's been on high for quite a while now. We have many, many, many more to thank for that. Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, and you all can name other Moors that have contributed to that. Rebutted the fraud. We're continuing to rebut the fraud, Islam, and Justice Michelle. Just all of that. And then knowing the difference between that capitalist system where they're using it and then it being subject to us. Okay, those things are what make the difference. Okay, so no, they're not still benefiting from the sleeping Moors. In fact, the sleeping Moors are actually being squeezed by that system. They're being squeezed and pushed to declare their nationality too. Those people, that system is shutting itself down. And actually we shut it down. So they're being, they're being
Rahim Bey, Islam.
They're sending, they're being taxed, etc., and all of that in that capitalist system. Okay, so they're going to be, at some point, they're going to have to make a decision, just like we had to make decisions. Many of us were facing situations where we knew there was not going to be any relief in that system, and now we know that we are the relief because we are creating, and we're not even creating a whole new system. Our system has been there since time immemorial. We're just uncovering it and demonstrating it to include the financial system. Okay, so that was one of the questions in the chat. Are there? Did I miss? Also, Justice Malik. Are you okay? Yes. Justice Malik is going to give us a cosmology reading. Take about 5 minutes to give us a reading so that we can know where we are with regard to the stars and the cosmology, and so that we can pair that with what we know about ourselves and about our birth charts. And then as a nation, it can help us to determine our strategies and what we're doing next, which we do know that. So Justice Malik, I'm going to yield the floor to you. Can you start speaking?
Islam Empress.
Islam
to the
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Yeah, so I just want to go ahead and give a astrological readings very quickly of the events that are about to happen, and also talk about Jupiter as well. This was great information by Hood Mystic, where he talks about the exoteric and esoteric meaning of Jupiter. And so Jupiter is the light bringer. Jupiter is the illuminator. And whenever we talk about different planets, there's a level of control they have over us, right? So once you master them, you control them, okay? And the exoteric meaning, and by the way, there's esoteric and exoteric. Esoteric is more so like it's more like the surface level meaning of something, and exoteric gets even deeper, right? So the exoteric meaning of Jupiter is that Jupiter is the largest planet and also the most attractive in the solar system. It's also the planet that protects us from asteroids, right? And if you think of it as above, so below, so below, as above, this is a planet that protects us from, different obstacles or different oncoming situations, right? So think of it in that manner. Jupiter represents the law of attraction, right? So whenever people want to deal with wealth, with fame, with money, with success, the planet you want to work with is Jupiter. You must check the aspects of Jupiter in your chart if you feel like there's, some type of blockage. If you have a trine, then you'll be very successful, and if you have a square, you may be on the outside looking in. It's important to tap in within you, right? Because these energies are within. And the whole thing is, let's say even if Jupiter is not well aspected, don't look at it in a negative way. Look at it in a positive way, because there's always a power within all the aspects, right? So with that being said, Jupiter is the lightbringer, as I mentioned before. Jupiter basically is the beginning of morals and ideas. So whenever you have the starting of morals and ideas, that is the Jupiter energy. It signifies horns and flashes of light, right? Jupiter is also connected to the kings and kingship throughout history. We all know that we're sovereigns, so just think of it in that way. And Jupiter is where you are linked to your ancient kings or kingships, or your spiritual lineage, or your sovereignty, right? And the organ on the body that actually represents Jupiter is the liver, right? So that's why liver detoxes are so important on more grounded level is good, because the functions in the body and what the liver does for the body, it helps it do its job a whole lot easier. But on a more esoteric and esoteric level, it's freeing you, and it's actually empowering the energy of Jupiter. It's making it stronger. You're actually growing your power of Jupiter once you have your liver cleared or cleansed, and you keep on building it stronger and stronger and stronger. All right, so keep in mind where that. Right, and detoxifying the body is always so important, because organs that we have in our body represent the planets, or the planets control the organs. Or once we discover how to master these planets, then we control these planets or these organs within us. All right. Now let's get into the major shift that is coming, the huge shift, the major life change that is just around the corner. All right, and this is from Astro Kit Astrology. Node shifting predictions. And this is sidereal astrology. Okay, so you have tropic astrology, which we all are familiar with, which is Western astrology, right? And then we have sidereal Vedic astrology, which is also known as Eastern astrology, right? And Vedic astrology deals more with predictive events, right? Because it goes off of the fixed stars. So the shift is happening September 23rd, 2020. The nodes stay in a sign for 18 months, right? And so you have the north node and you have the south node, also known as Rahu and Ketu, which rules our destiny and purpose in life. So the north node, aka Rahu, rules rules our desires in life, our focus in life, what we seek to attain in the future, and also you have south node, aka Ketu, which shows us our past, what we detach from, and our spiritual inclinations. North node in Taurus, right, which actually equals finance, stability, material world. And by the way, it just shifts from Gemini to Taurus, in case you were wondering. So yeah, Taurus represents finance, stability, material world. A lot of us will be focused on material world moving forward for the next 18 months. And because Taurus is the sign dealing with the material things. In terms of earth, money, grounding ourselves, and stability, and more. And then you have the south node in Scorpio, right, which equals the spiritual world. And for the next 18 months, a lot of secrets will be revealed. Scorpio rules everything hidden. So there will be a lot of people making a lot of money from spiritual practices, right? So see what your rising sign is in Vedic astrology. And, so you could pinpoint exactly which area in life this will affect you. And also a good sign or planet to also view is your moon sign, because your moon sign basically shows how you will be affected emotionally, or how you will feel about everything that's going on. So your rising sign shows you what's going to happen in your life, and then your moon sign shows you how you react or how you're going to feel about what's happening in your life. All right, so with that being said, I hope this was very helpful to our nation, the whole entire Moorish nation, sovereign nation. And with that, I yield. Islam.
Islam, thank you so much for that. It just affirms so many things. Let me just start first with what you said about September 23rd being an 18-month shift.
Yeah.
And it's shifting where the material things, the Taurus, etc., that is very important because of some of the things that everyone, all Moors, have been finding lately. With regard to our resources and our land, we already know that we're there because that's the piece that we've been looking for too, so that we can continue the work.
Absolutely.
And we know that everything is ours. We know that, but we also know that there are protocols that we put in place that we must know, so that the peace is kept with regard to all that is ours.
Islam.
Okay. Thank you for that, because that brings me also back to the nation building piece. Over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be focused solely on nation building. I am going to be doing Islam. I am going to be doing lean classes again over the next few weeks, doing lean classes, and also Empress Malo and Empress Jonaya and I believe Justice Scott have been doing the practice court sessions. We need to hone our skills there, because at some point we're going to have to we're going to be working into, we need to introduce the moorishe grand jury, so that some of these things that are happening on our land can be brought before the grand jury for investigation. And if there are any indictments, for example, if there are any actions by the citizens in the territories where there may be a shooting of one of the heirs, who may or may, it doesn't matter whether they know they're an heir or not, we're the government on the land and we're the law on the land. And so we'll have to convene grand juries in those territories to do an investigation. And the grand jury can bring those who are found to have some probable cause of involvement in the shooting. We can bring them up on indictments, and then the indictments are then handed to the Moorish American Consular Court, and the Moorish American Consular Court will convene and do what we do. We will call them into court like we've been doing. This is nothing new. We've been calling colonizers into court, and whether they show up or not, they still get the ruling. The justice goes on the public record. And we are also moving into something that most of us have been waiting for as well, which is the enforcement piece. We are the enforcement. We're going to do so peacefully. We'll be giving more information about that over the next few days and weeks, actually the next few weeks. Once we get we have many more. I was contacted just yesterday by one of the Moors who they are putting the Moorish marshals together. And it seems like the enforcement is coming on all sides from just everywhere. We're being contacted by Moors. There are Moors in the Ohio territory who have already put Moorish police in effect. And they sent beautiful photos of their uniforms and them ready to go to work for their nation as well. So that piece is coming together really well and very quickly and very organically and organized as well. So it'll be a little while yet before we put out the information about that. It may be, probably another week or so, depending on the judiciary and what we come up with this coming week with regard to, we want to release safe, competent, a competent format for that piece to come out where we're concerned and where each one of you is concerned, because in reality, we've already been enforcing the law. Any of you that have sent any liens or any court actions, you're already enforcing the law. The only thing that was missing is you did not have a badge and you didn't go and hand deliver those documents. And some of you even did go hand deliver the documents to, fake clerks of court and fake justices and fake, corporations that were doing things in your territory. So we've already been doing this type of work in our nation all across the land. We're just going to put it into a format that we can, that each territory can take that format and do with it as they are led to do with it by the ancestors in a manner that is safe, that's organized, that is well unified, that's peaceful, and that is on par with all that our nation is doing as well. So I'm excited about that part because that's a part that we've all been looking for as well, not knowing that we were the enforcement as it were. And I've always known that we're it because we're everything, but we've always said that we are everything. We've always said that we're everything, and we know that everything is wrapped up in the sovereign. Everyone else who's doing the things that we need done, know they learned it from us. So we're just taking back everything that belongs to the heirs, Islam. September 11th is going to be our nationwide fast. That's this coming Friday, this coming Holy Friday. We're going to fast from sun up to sundown. And that's just going to be in celebration of the fact that we stand and in celebration of our just our nationhood and our sovereign status, and the fact that we see and know that our ancestors are here. They have returned in us, and we want to celebrate them, their return in us, and we also want to celebrate the victories that we've had thus far. We cannot overlook them. Those who have eyes to see can see how much progress has been made, because they've been the ones making the progress. We've all been the ones making the progress. And so we want to celebrate that in quiet fasting and gratitude. And gratitude is always going to be first and foremost in those types of events for me and for many of you as well, because I already know what gratitude energy does. Gratitude energy brings more of whatever it is we're grateful for. And so we want to continue as we move higher and higher and rise and rise and rise above capitalism and rise above the enslavement and the violations and all of that. We're just going to keep rising higher and higher and higher above that. Every demonstration takes us a higher and higher and higher. And even ones that we may feel were not as successful, they already are successful anyway because they were done. And it broke a spell in somebody's mind out there who we may have thought didn't know we knew who we were. But we do know who we are. And they know it's just a matter of time before we perfect that in each one of us. So the September 11th nationwide fast, sun up to sundown, and we just want to, we really want to acknowledge the fast is also going to be to acknowledge all of those who have been incarcerated with regard to our nation and doing demonstrations, etc. We want to also fast for more peace energy in our nation, because that is the most important energy that we can exhibit and that we can be and have and show and live, because that's going to make sure that it ensures that our demonstrations do what they're supposed to do with regard to that peace factor. So are there any, and also then October 31st, any of the Moors who are going to be coming here for the October 31st Ancestral Solemn Assembly? And solemn just means regularly or annually or every year. That's what solemn really means. It means something that we do regularly. So on October 31st, those who are going to be coming to Olympia, Washington Territory, here in our territory to go to Mound, we're looking forward to that. And if you will actually let us know if you're coming and how many are coming with you, so that we will know how many to expect as well. Okay. And you can text that information to me at 334-294-9828. Okay. Text the number of Moors that are coming with you and where they're coming from. And if it's you, text me and let me know that you're coming, so that we can have a general idea of the amount of powerful energy that's going to be here in this territory. That's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. A lot of power. And you know, we want to make sure that we acknowledge everyone, and just looking forward to seeing the Moors. I hear that the Moors from Michigan territory are coming. We have Moors from Arizona territory coming, Moors from Khalifa territory coming. I'm just looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. So, and then those who can't come, go on October 31st to any mounds or ancient places in your territories. We all have them. All territories have mounds and places that we can go. And we chose, again, October 31st because that is the time when the veil between the dimensions is the finish. And that's why the corporates, that's why they would use symbology such as skeletons and caskets and ghosts and goblins and witches and bats and all of this stuff, cemeteries and all of that. They would use that because they know too that that is the day that the energies and the dimensions, the veil between the two is the finish. And so we can be interdimensional as well. Okay. So, and we're interdimensional as it is already. But on that day, we can be even more so. And we're going to be welcoming the ancestral energy into all that we do, just like we do every day. But it'll be a lot. And then the place that we're going to be, Mound, is ancient burial ground. And there are over 400 and about 400 and something mounds there, ancient mounds there. So we're excited about that, and looking forward to it, and also looking forward to synergizing with the Moors that are in the other territories, doing the same type of meetings. Okay. Are there any questions or comments or anything of that nature about that or any of the other things that we're doing?
Yes. Yes, I have a question.
Islam.
This is Carla. My question is, I'm in Fairfax, and the question is, there's different types of mounds. Is there a particular one you would prefer us to go to over another?
No. I think you should do that research in your territory, and you determine which one that you all should go to. You know?
I was thinking about the Native American. I did look at it, but they had like 4 different ones. But okay, I will. Thank you.
Yes, know that whole Native American thing, they're just custodians of what is ours. They don't really have any ancient history, as it were, not more ancient than our history. Okay? Their history is not more ancient than ours. And so that's ours as well. So whichever you choose to go to, I would choose the one that is oldest from your research, you know, and then choose the one that's most convenient for you to go to, so that your energies are relaxed when you get there, and so that you're comfortable, and you know you can make that into what you want it to be. Islam.
Thank you, Empress.
Yes. And I'm glad you're going, by the way. That's going to be good, because then our energies will all synchronize that day as well. Islam. Islam, Empress, I think you had a question. There was another Empress that had a question. Or comment. Okay. And then also, over the next few weeks, we are going to be doing termination of corporate contracts class, a sharing session, where we're going to show our termination of corporate contracts. Many of you already know what that is and already have that. Many of you have that already done, but for, these classes will be for those who maybe want some clarification on the lien process and the termination of corporate contract process. And then if many of you as need the practice court sessions, please get in touch with Empress Malo and Empress Jonaya, so that those practice court sessions can be done, so that we can do the court actions and move that piece into the universal commerce that will be necessary for us going into universal commerce. So that's another part and parcel of that process. Any other questions or comments? And is there a process? Yes, go ahead, Empress.
I was just trying to figure out the call we had Thursday. I was trying to see if you had it recorded because I really wanted to rehear it.
Yes, I do have it recorded. I will put it up. I was kind of waiting to put it up because I have actually 2 of them that I've not put up recently. Because they're going up so quickly, and I just thought I would put a little space between them going up that quickly, but I'll go ahead and put them up. The ancestors have been saying, okay, it's just about time. You need to keep it steady and keep putting them up, so I'm going to do what they tell me, just like they are saying with the calls, just keep everything going and steady and reliable so that our nation can have an outlet that is dependable, that we know is going to be there, and where we can openly discuss anything that we need to talk about in our nation, even the tough subjects. We can talk about them here. So there are some subjects that are a little tougher than others. I can't wait to tell you what I'm going through right now. I'm excited about it, and I really should not be this excited about that kind of a test, but I am because I already know what the outcome is going to be. So, Islam.
Do you know where you're gonna put it up at? Is it gonna be on your Facebook page or
I
is it gonna be
usually post it on YouTube and then post it on my Facebook page, and in all of the Moorish American Consulate pages, I post it there too. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'll go on the YouTube page.
Yes, Islam. That is where it will be.
Yeah, Islam.
Yeah,
Melanie Colonel Lawrence Bay. In reference to the sister was asking about some of the Mound sites, you can go on to www.pyramidsinamerica.com, and it's a booklet and it shows you all the pyramids in all the states and gives you a compound historic education on them. Or you can contact our brother Umar S. Bay at askbrotherumar.org, and you can get the videos and the educational. Matter of fact, I just came down from the Emogi Mound about half hour ago. I did a little extra this evening, and when I got on a call, that's where I was at, on top of the mound.
Islam.
So that's all available information.
Eddie J. B. You're north.
Islam, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you for that. And you said the website is www.pyramidsinamerica.com?
Yes, Empress.
Yes. Okay. We'll definitely, if anyone wants to put that in the chat, go ahead and put it in the chat so that anyone who wants to see that website can see it. Thank you for that.
Islam.
Yeah.
Islam. Oops, sorry about that. I muted. Sorry, I did not mean to mute you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was trying to mute the one where the noise was coming from.
I'm new to everything, but I'm in Chicago, and I'm under a Sheikh
No, you're not under anyone. You're not under anyone.
Okay.
Sovereigns cannot be under anyone.
Well, he's the one teaching me.
Yes,
okay,
Islam.
So
yes, Islam.
Islam. So it was a more parade a couple of days ago, and I didn't know who were they with or where they was from, but I wasn't around. But one of my friends told me about it. So I'm in Chicago. Do any more know what that parade was about?
I do not. If there are any more who do know what it's about, I'm not sure. And if you're in that area, there's probably some research that you can do locally to find out what that was about. I know that we didn't really, that's not anything that we had any information about. It would have been interesting, especially if it's Moors doing it. I would have loved to see that parade. That would have been great. And if we could get some video of it, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it, but it's a good thing.
Is there any more on here from Chicago?
Do you have an email address? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Well, and now remember, this goes on the public record. So if you don't want your email address on the public record like that,
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Empress. It's Empress Nasaya, Nasya, Bey, Bey at yahoo.com.
Okay. If there are any more from Chicago territory, connect with her. And I'm a little bit curious, and I would suggest actually that you whoever it is that you're learning from there, that they can connect you with Moors in that area as well.
I don't have no connection with that. I've been learning from Gio Ramos.
Oh, okay, good, great, awesome. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments, etc.? Okay. I wanted to go over for just a moment the termination of corporate contracts, because there were a couple of questions about that. Just a moment, let me take a look here. Okay, and I'm going to pull my termination of corporate contracts up so that we can look at it briefly, just so that everyone can see what they look like. Empress, the Empress that just gave her email. One of the other justices that's in the Chicago territory has placed an email address in the chat as well.
Islam. I got to go online.
Okay. Justice, do you want to say that? Do you want to put your email out there so she can contact you? Because she's actually calling in by phone.
Islam, I can relate that to her.
Okay, Islam.
Nasaya, this is Michelle. I can get that to you. I'll text you the email address. Islam.
Thank you, Empress. Okay. All right. You should see on the screen. Is the termination of corporate contract showing on the screen? I hope.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then just if you have any questions, stop me along the way. I do want to go over this really quickly. And then if you have any other questions about it. Okay, there it is. Okay, with the termination of corporate contracts, let me just make sure I can have the web thing as well. Okay. All right. With the termination of corporate contracts, this is what it says. I'm going to read it. Let me just make sure. Yep, it has everything listed here. Okay. I'm going to read part of it, not all of it, because it's a little bit. But the termination of corporate contracts, it basically, and this is written in corporate, not corporate English, but indigenous regular English, as opposed to ancient English. My other is written in ancient English. But the gist of the termination of corporate contracts is pulling ourselves out of the capitalist system, okay? So this says universal, sovereign, original, indigenous termination for all corporate, and that's corporate in all capital letters. Corporate, that's corporate with a capital C, and then I went ahead a step further and did corporate in all lowercase letters contracts. It says, I am Pauline Denise Ritchie in Capitis Nolo, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are the original indigenous sovereign Moorish Americans who are part and parcel of the sovereign original indigenous natural divine Moorish National Republic federal government. We are descendants spiritum returned to Leve, and the descendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. As the ones who are the ancient bloodline and birthright, I and all Moors are the rightful, lawful title, heir, and possessor of the universal vast estate trust of the original indigenous American sovereigns. We are the universal sovereign ministers, justices, executors, heirs, claimants, beneficiaries, and possessors of our own vast estate. Just one moment. Let me make sure. Okay. One moment. Okay. It says, we are God, Mother, Father, and descendants spiritum returned to Leve of the living, original, indigenous, sovereign ancients. All exchanges in universal commerce shall be made in gold, silver, and other natural resources. The Universal American Constitution for the United States predates all others and supersedes all others and is the supreme law of the land. Just for a moment, let me use that noise. Okay. Okay. It says, I, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in Capitis Nolo, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes, do hereby terminate and abolish forever all presumed contracts, charters, and trusts that presumably exist with Pauline Denise Ritchie in all capital letters, Pauline Denise Ritchie in Capitis Diminution Minima, and Pauline Denise Ritchie in all lowercase letters, and that's contracts, charters, and trusts, and all agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and derivatives thereof. I, Pauline Denise Ritchie, and that's in all lowercase letters, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. Just a moment, let me make sure. In proprio heredes, am the creditor to all of the nations of the earth. And all Moors are the creditors to all of the nations of the earth. But when you do your termination of corporate contracts, this is what you're saying. You're terminating forever all presumed contracts, charters, and trusts that exist with the all cap name and the name in all, where it starts with a capital letter. And I took it a step further and did it for in capitis diminutio nolo, so that I could put an affidavit over all of that says I'm in charge of all of it. But in the interim, any contracts, not affidavits, but any contracts are terminated. And then I stepped up as the creditor to all of that and all of the nations of the earth, because we are that. All Moors are that. So when we suggest that Moors do a termination of corporate contracts, all Moors are stepping up and being themselves. Everyone's been eating off of us from day one anyway. And they could not do anything without our autographs, our sovereign autographs. Even in our fleet, they were getting autographs every 5 seconds so they could get a new something to eat, so they could get a new contract. And we terminated all of that, okay? And we continue to keep all of that terminated. And so, just one moment. Okay, and so then I went down a little further, and I started listing all of the contracts. Okay, I did send a document, some sovereign dolarium, to the, in all lowercase letters, United States Treasury, which is us. So I essentially sent something to them saying, we are the Treasury, okay? And then I tracked it, and it was received. And these are the tracking numbers, okay? And I do have those proof that that tracking was received. And so basically we were just telling the frauds that we are the Treasury, okay? Okay, so now, and then what I did was, just a moment. Then I started listing, I do hereby terminate all presumed contracts to include all contracts issued by the United States Corporation Company, the United States Service Corporation, the United States, and all corporations and corporations. And that's in the different, capitalization, because we know that that's how capitalism works, is they capitalize the sovereign-born appellation at the crowning of the Stargate. When we crowned the Stargates, they capitalized, and then they got Mother to agree that there were capital letters in our sovereign appellations, which there were never capital letters in them. They've been in all lowercase letters from the very beginning. So then I started listing the certificate of live birth. I put any numbers associated with that. I also put any, I named everything from veterans cards, military ID cards. You'll have to stay muted so that there's no echo. Okay, so when I mute you, just go ahead and stay muted because there's some feedback coming from that line. Okay, so we can get through this part of the sharing. And so I listed credit reports, I listed Internal Revenue Service tax forms, filings, and transactions, student ID cards. I went back into everything that was back there that I consented to unknowingly, because I did not know that we were Moors and that we were the heirs when I signed for all of this stuff back in the day. Military ID cards, marriage license, student loans, Virgin Mobile, just one corporation after another, corporate contracts. I went through everything, checking and savings accounts, driver's licenses, mortgages, waste management contracts, credit collection contracts, medical bill contracts. And then at the end, I put all other corporate contracts that presumably exist in the fraudulently issued corporate construct. I terminated all of them, by all corporations, agents, assigned principals, and any and all derivatives thereof, of Pauline Denise Ritchie in all capital letters, Pauline Denise Ritchie with just the first letter capitalized, and Pauline Denise Ritchie in all lowercase letters. And then I said, I am Pauline Denise Ritchie in all lowercase letters in capitis nolo. Not just Pauline Denise Ritchie in all lowercase letters. I'm in capitis nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis. I am not a United States citizen, nor citizen of any corporation. And I put citizen in the three different, in capitis diminutio maxima, in capitis diminutio media, minima, and I also put it in all lowercase letters. I and all Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, natural divine, sovereign authority at America and all lawful national, international, and universal titles, charters, trusts, and identification documents are the property of the original indigenous sovereign de jure Moorish National Republic federal government titles. All other foreign corporate contracts, trusts, and documents are notwithstanding. So I ruled them all out. They're no more. They're notwithstanding. Lawful Moorish American writs, laws, and affidavits are on the public record, are unrebutted, and stand as law. I hereby claim, proclaim, fully access, and declare my full, rightful, lawful estate, which is all land, all natural resources, all property manifestations, and all universal commerce, nunc pro tunc. Nunc pro tunc meaning now for then. So this covers everything from in the past, all the things that I listed. I said these are not contracts. We are the creditors. I am the creditors to that stuff. And all Moors are the creditors to all the nations of the earth because we are. We have no, this is why we have no debt. It's because we have all terminated corporate contracts. Those who have not terminated them, listen to what I'm saying, look at this video, watch this, look at this document, and recreate this document for yourselves so that you can terminate all corporate contracts as well. And then the things that I listed here, I am slowly but surely moving away from the use of them. So I have not had a driver's license in years. In fact, even when I was supposed to have one out there as thinking I was a citizen, I didn't really have one. Please get so. and so that's because something in my spirit knew that that was not something we should have. Those are not contracts that we should have because they're fraudulent. They're fraud. No one can license the heirs on our own land. And so all of these contracts have been terminated. Let's see, I'm looking in the chat, all of the termination of corporate contracts, red, lowercase, yes. It is not, yeah, these are in, mine, as you can see here, is in red in all lowercase letters. And then these contracts really should have been in black. So I'll go back and put them in black and then publish it. But I wanted to show you what it looks like, okay, and what it says. The wording is absolutely what it should be in terms of that. And no one has, and the last sentence says, no United States corporation, company, citizen, corporation, nor United States citizen, nor agents, principals, heirs, or assigns has personam jurisdiction over the Moors, period. And then I signed it and I dated it in red in all lowercase letters. Okay, so that is what the termination of corporate contracts is all about. Okay, for those who needed to see why we do what we do in terms of that. Are there any questions about that? And again, we are migrating away from the use of all of the stuff that's on there as we continue to stand. So, for example, if I had to use a military ID, I would use it, but I've not had to use it. So I'm not creating situations where I have to use that stuff. And the only thing that we're now moving away from finally is the fiat piece, where we're using electronic ones and zeros, sovereign credit, versus using fiat. Go ahead, Empress.
Yes, yes, I'd like to ask you, did you send it to anybody or did you just put it on the public record?
I sent it to some who were attempting to do any type of, like if they sent any mailings to the mailing locations for this fraudulent stuff, I sent them copies.
Okay.
And
All
they
right.
actually stopped sending mail.
Okay. Yeah, I had to do that. I sent one to the student loan, the Department of Education, because they were starting to bother me again. So I sent them one.
Yep.
All right.
They were actually one of the first ones to get it. They were the reason why I went ahead and just put it all the way out there and listed everything out there and put it on the public record, because some people might think that they want to keep all of those account numbers and things a secret, but believe it or not, that stuff is floating around on the stock market. They've been selling that stuff on the stock market for years, and then telling you, be quiet. You shouldn't tell nobody that that's your stuff we pimping, basically, So I'm just like, well, there you have it. And then each one of those, at some point, each one of those fake corporations has sent mailings in the past saying there's been a breach in security and all of the information was compromised, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, you know what? No, you guys are selling stuff. And you don't have any right to sell anything you're not going to profit off of me at all. And so I'm going to make sure to detach myself and make sure that you know that I know that that's not me. So now we are moving into the next steps for all of that. Now, this I will say, Morris, keep copies of the mailings and things that they send. Keep copies of it, because we're going to be doing things with that as well. As we continue to stand and get our banking and everything in order, we're going to take those things and remain disconnected from them. We're going to remain disconnected because, again, our purpose was to be outside of the capitalist system and then turn around, like we said in the video, and use that system as our subject, because it's a subject to the Moors. And it has to do, it's supposed to benefit us, no one else, us. And so as we continue to walk through making that system subject to us, we're seeing where we're able to turn all debt but you have to terminate the corporate contract first. Then we're looking now and seeing where there's something is formulating here from the ancestors that's showing us that we're going to be able to take all debts and turn it into credit. Okay, and use that credit, but again, we're still working our way through that process, so we don't have it all completely laid out. We're doing the demonstrations right now on a massive level, and then over time, as the ancestors continue to give us what we need to put the processes out there, we'll be able to put them out there, but we have to have our government standing before we can do it. And when I say standing, we're already standing, but I mean get into the buildings and start working and doing the things that we do as the government and as the law. That's when we'll be able to do the other things that we're looking at now and prepaying everything and all of that kind of stuff. Islam, Justice.
Islam, Empress Light. I just want to know, what is the difference between this termination of corporate contracts and then the termination of corporate contracts that we have put up before on public records? Is there, if we put it up before on public records, must we make another one similar to this to put up on public records, or if we put up the other one, that was good enough?
Only if you're led to do anything else. Only if you're led to do anything else. And you have to, and as with anything that we suggest, tap into your ancestral energy and see what your ancestors tell you to do. And if the ancestors say put something up, put something up. If they say don't put anything up, then don't. Everything that we put out is based on the things that we're receiving from the ancestors and that we see is overall having the effects that we want. For example, when we started terminating the corporate contracts, we were noticing that that whole treasury bond piece started going sour for them. When they were trying to sell things to other nations, treasury bonds to other nations, they stopped accepting them. And so we were like, okay, that makes sense, because when we terminate the corporate contract, that means that those bonds are not even attached to the heirs, you know. So that made sense. So again, when we're doing things nationally, because that's the way that we're working right now, is we're specifically meant to nation build. And as we're nation building, the heirs are still sovereign and can demonstrate according to the way that they're led. And we just put foundational things out there, and then you do your demonstrations based on what your study tells you further. So we should never be waiting for anyone to put any information out. We should be studying along with the information that's coming out and demonstrating along with the information that's coming out, you see. So whatever the ancestors tell you is what you should do.
Right. Okay. Islam.
Okay. Islam.
Empress, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Carla. My question is, I work for Fairfax County Public Schools, and they'll withhold taxes. And I put out my termination of all corporate contracts, and I sent them to the 3 locations and other places also. With the fear that Social Security have taken from me over the years, would they deposit it back into a trust?
So the way that is going to work is that when we, as the government and as the law, we actually have to put the systems in place to give ourselves the return on that. That's a debt system, so it can't credit you anything. They can't credit you anything. We're the creditors, so we're creating the system. And that's why nation building has been our #1 focus. It's our #1 priority, is getting into these buildings in our territory and also standing up to the point where we, I'm trying not to give too much information with regards to the things that the judiciary is working on, but that is why it's important for us to all be focused on everything collectively so that we can push forward. We must have our own banking and financial system, and then we can credit back. And that's why, that's a great question, because that is what I was just mentioning about. We're seeing something starting to manifest where we can turn the debt into credit and then credit ourselves. We're seeing that. That's what that really is they won't be able to credit you. They're debt-based only, and they have nothing to give you. But we're seeing where we're going to be able to turn the debt into credit and then use the credit, okay? But it has to be done on a nationwide level first before it can be done individually, because the nation has to set up the banking system that's going to give the heirs their own credit. That means you'll be using your own credit. That's really what that means. You'll be crediting yourself based on what you see there. So what it will look like, I'll tell you what it will look like. This is what that's going to look like. Because, see, again, they're not going to be able to give you anything. We have already taken that whole system and we're changing and nationalizing it completely for our benefit and not for anyone else's, not for corporate stuff. So once we get out of the corporate stuff, then we are using it as the sovereign. And so you'll have sovereign credits put into your account. And this is, again, once we get the whole system set up completely. And that's happening right now. I don't have a timeline for you. I can't tell you what the timeline is. But I do know that we have to be in control of the banking in order for that to take place. And then you'll be able to bring that debt in and deposit it once it's converted to credit. And that's why the lien process, you got to lien the corporate off of that piece, off of the numbers, because the numbers are not capitalized. That's why they put capital letters on top of everything, because numbers cannot be capitalized. So once you remove that corporate piece off of what is already yours, then you'll be able to bring that into the moorishe bank and deposit it in. Whatever debt is showing there will be then turned into credit first and then deposited. But it's what they call sovereign credit. Sovereign credit. We're the creditor, so we can do that. We can turn anything. That's what they call. That's where that thing, the Midas touch, came from. Where everything we touch turns to gold. That's actually a truth. They base that on the Moors. But we have to have the systems set up to do it. And it's not as difficult as it sounds.
No, it's not as difficult at all, but you shared a lot of clarity on it now. I do comprehend. Thank you, Empress.
Yes, Islam. In the chat, the Empress Valerie asked, on my termination of corporate contracts, I didn't add the bay. I didn't add the bay because Pauline Denise Ritchie, in all lowercase letters in capitis diminutio nolo, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredis, is the creditor. That's the sovereign-born name that my sovereign mother gave when I came from the sovereign stargate. That's the name of the creditor. And then the corporates could not use it in all lowercase letters. So what they did was they said, look, in order for us to access anything, we're going to have to put some capital letters in there and then get mom to agree to that. We got to get her to consent. So let's create these documents. Let's create a birth certificate and put capital letters in it, and start it with a capital P and a capital D and a capital R, and put the rest of the letters lowercase, and then get her to sign it. And if we can get her to agree that this is who that is, we can go about creating debt with that. And then after that, once my mother signed it as the informant, because she didn't know, she probably looked at it, and knowing my mother, she looked at it and wondered, why are they calling me an informant instead of the mother on this document? Because she's a Sagittarius, so they need to know. But she had nothing to, yes. Justice Yearmore says in the chat they had to create a debtor transmitting utility. And all we're doing when we decapitalize everything is creating a creditor transmitting utility that's already there. We're just uncovering it. So all of those debts that we're talking about, where we have, there's things out there that we know should be ours, but it's still sitting there looking like a debt. When we decapitalize everything, we're doing the opposite or reverse or reversion of estate. We're reversioning the estate when we decapitalize everything. And that is how our banking system is being set up, so that the sovereigns state who they really are, and they're not any name in capital letters at all. Their IDs have to say the all lowercase letter sovereign-born name, sovereign-born appellation rather, because that's an appellation. Believe it or not, jurisdiction cannot be waived even by consent of both parties. So even though mom consented, you're still sovereign. You're still the heir. And so all we're doing is saying we know we're the heirs now. So let's use the creditor side of who we are and not the debtor side anymore. Because we've lived our whole lives so far using debt instruments to get the things that we wanted. We've been working for debt and all of that. And now no more of that. So, yes, Islam Empress Pauline, I see you there. Welcome. And so that is where we are with the debtor transmitting utilities and turning all that we have back into creditor transmitting utilities. Now, we have put some things out there that say we're the creditors to all the nations of the earth, and that starts with us being the creditors to ourselves. So we're setting up, all of us, as we do our moorishe demonstrations, we're setting up the system that we can use as the creditor system. The fakes couldn't set up a creditor system. They can't because they're not the creditor. We have to do that. We have to set up the banking. We have to set up all of that. And believe it or not, the infrastructure is already there. It's just a matter of the language. The language and knowing our sovereign status and knowing who we are. When we know who we are, we can change anything into whatever we want it to be. I'll tell you this, and I mentioned this previously. When the ancestors felt we were ready, they began to show us not only that that all debt can be changed into credit, but they started showing us the debt to the penny since 1790, since the year 1790. We are able to see on the Treasury website the debt since 1790. And then recently, just last night, that is all debt that we can put the Midas touch on it and change it into credit, and we have that process already worked out. And now we're moving into the banking piece and getting an actual physical location, etc. And that's something that is going to take us a little while. I don't have a timeline. I don't like to give timelines, but we're going to do it. It's actually already done. We just have to put the process out there in a manner that is understandable for the majority of the heirs to do, and we have to be competent heirs. That means knowing the lien process and also knowing the court actions process and the sovereign CEO process. And that one is just an affidavit. The sovereign CEO is just an affidavit process, okay, stating that you and all Moors are the sovereign CEOs of all resources on this land, okay? And with us all speaking and moving as one, there's no resource that we cannot control. We control them all now, really. We just have to know how that works and put the process in place so that we know this is why this is happening. This is why they're doing this, etc. Now, in the chat, there's a question that has come up a couple of times. How can one start up a business without using their EIN? Anything that you use should be in all lowercase letters. So if you're talking about an employee identification number, then EIN should be in all lowercase letters and it should be spelled out. Because then that makes you the sovereign employee of who? Yourself. Okay. So everything in all lowercase letters.
Islam.
Put no capital letters, not even the first letter. No capital letters. So we're essentially decapitalizing the EIN process. And then know that you're the IRS in all lowercase letters. Okay? So the same way that we put our sovereign-born appellations in lowercase letters and we refute the fraud of that other stuff, of the uppercase, is the same thing that we do on a corporate level where corporations are concerned, etc. Okay? Justice Gilmore, Islam.
Yes, I just wanted to mention to the questioner that if you read your 8-page proclamation declaration and your 2-page correction, you will find that you have all the numbers you need to do anything, and you don't need to go ask anybody's permission to start a business. How does a Moor start a business? By starting it. That's it. You don't ask anybody, because there is no one in this land or any land that is able to tell you what you can and cannot do. But if you subject yourself, they will, because when you subject yourself, you're giving them permission to keep putting their foot on your neck. Islam.
Islam, correct. Islam. Again, if you think that you have to have an EIN number, then I would just suggest, because you can't tell sovereigns what to do, I would suggest you not take a move yet until you do the study on the fact that you don't need anything from them, and that if you put yourself under them like that, they're going to do what they do best, which is pull from you.
Islam.
Just
a little addition to that. The reason they can come and get your car and get taxes from you and get anything from you is because you agree to give it to them. And if you don't agree, they'll threaten you, because they know as soon as they threaten you, most people will say, okay, and pay it or give them what they ask for. Which means we're subjecting ourselves to them. As simple as going into the store and purchasing stuff, and you insist that you are not taxed, and somebody comes and yells at you, well, you have to pay it because this is the USA and stuff, and you pay it. As long as you pay it, you're saying, okay, I don't have control. But if you study a little bit, then you go back and you say, now, wait a minute. This is not, why am I not taxed? Because I own the damn thing. How can you tax me on something that you don't own and you didn't in any way help to put together? And then you go ahead and make your claim. And if they don't do it, that's when you move to the lien process and the court process.
Yes. Islam. Okay. Thank you, Justice Chair Moore. Islam. We can text you. Yes, Islam in the chat. So we are definitely being called to stand errors in all that we do. We're being called to stand in commerce, specifically. We cannot yield to any of that craziness in commerce. So the ancestors are testing us here and there to make it so that we, know that whenever we're being tested, that it's our ancestors attempting to give us the answers. And they want us to think. They just want us to think. And they'll give us the answers when we are peaceful and when we're competent and when we go within. They'll give us the answers to what it is we need to do. Good job. So solutions, and I'll just go over this one because this question came up on one of the calls that I was attending, actually, the other day. Someone was saying, we're talking about all of these things and issues. What are the solutions? Does anyone have any solutions? Solution number one, proclaim your nationality. The name appellation change and the judicial proclamation in all lowercase letters in red. Number two, terminate all corporate contracts in all lowercase letters in red, just like we showed here. Number three, learn the lien process. Okay, and we'll go over the lien process sometime in the near future as well. I wanted to actually do a class where I just show you a lien that I've done recently, and then take any questions that you might have or anything like that. So know the lien process, that's number 3. Number 4, learn the court actions process. Okay, learn the court actions process. Oh, did I say terminate corporate contracts? Yes, I did. So number 5, the sovereign CEO document. And if I didn't say it, terminate corporate contracts. That should be right after. It should be along with name change and judicial proclamation. Okay. So number 1, name change in all lowercase letters. Number 2, judicial proclamation. Number 3, terminate corporate contracts. Number 4, lien process. Number 5, court actions. And number 6, sovereign CEO document. And then we're ready to move into commerce. Okay. Islam Empress, in the chat you said, I want to do several liens and court actions this month. Whenever you're ready, Empress. Another question in the chat, is it a must to send out a notice of lien before you file the lien? You can send out a notice of lien. You can do that if you so desire. We've placed a general one on the public record stating that all corporations will be liens. But for your record, to keep good, complete documentation, I would send out a notice of intent to lien. Notice of intent to lien. Okay. Send out a notice of intent to lien. Send out a notice of remedy. In other words, and we already know they can't remedy anything. We know that. I don't even, we know they can't remedy anything. But, and then go ahead and lien them. And that's, a lien is a default judgment that places them in debt. And then you want to, and then the court action is following up saying, okay, you're a debtor. You've been proven to be a debtor because there's a default lien here. Your commerce has been terminated, and now not only are we terminating your commerce, or not only have we terminated your commerce, but we're also issuing an arrest command because you are acting in a corporate capacity on our land, and we told you not to do that.
What corporations are you controlling right now,
Yep.
Pauline?
So the one that allows me to mute you from asking questions, we control all of them. Every last one of them. Every last one. That's why the majority of them have stopped their commerce. And the ones that are still doing commerce are only doing it to make sure we eat and we have what we need. But we can do that without them, too. We don't even need them to do that. And, in fact, we're in control of all of that.
Do you have your free Apple phones coming in yet?
Yep. We have everything we need coming in, including you. We appreciate that you're here. We appreciate that you're here. You're proving that and affirming that everything that we're doing is working, so to the point of agitating those who've been colonizing our land. We love you. Thank you for letting us know. Islam, are there any other questions? From the sovereigns, actually.
Yeah, nothing that you've done has worked. What the hell are you talking?
No. It's working. It's working. Have you been able to go to court and everything? Because, you got court dates coming up. Have you gone to those fake courts? No, you can't even go to court. We shut those down. They're looking for him. So, are there any other questions from the heirs? Any other questions, comments? Okay. We have about 6 minutes remaining. That's probably him coming back in 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. We appreciate you. Let's see. If there are no further questions or comments or anything of that nature, let me just check the chat. Y'all laughing in the chat.
Empress Light, this is Gloria Valera.
Yes.
Bay. Can I share a good experience?
Yes, Empress, go ahead.
Okay.
You're funny in the chat.
Yeah, a few days ago, I was at a store, one that I go to quite a bit, and I was standing in line. I didn't have a mask on, but I had, you know, my turban on. And some of the clerks a couple of clerks came up to me, not security because he was at the door. I didn't have a mask on. They said that I had to wear a mask. So I said, no, I do not. They said, yes, you have to wear a mask. All customers got to wear a mask. I said, I'm a Moorish American national. No, I said, I'm a Moor. I said, that's all I'm going to say. Then I added, I'm a Moorish American national. So when I was leaving the door, they rung me up, no problem, because they see me there. Then the regular people know me. So I go out the door, and this Albion was waiting for me. She says, what was that all about? You said something about Moor? I said, yes, I'm a nationalized Moor. Yeah. She said, you told them that, and they left you alone. Islam.
As well they should have. They know better than that. They know better than that. They know that. Yes, Islam.
When they have their stand-up meetings in the stores, they're being told exactly that.
Yes.
Because many of the corporate turned into companies are recognizing that, okay, there's only one way to go, and it's downstream.
Yeah.
And so when you see the meetings going on with them, if you kind of saunter up and just stand close and listen, you hear some interesting things. But that's why some places still haven't caught on, but they're catching on, especially when they see that they jump for the rope and the rope isn't tied to anything. Then they jump back and say, where's the Moors? Because, you know, Moors are always moored.
Yes.
Islam.
Yes.
Islam. I was actually going to share my Islam, everyone. I was actually going to share my story very quickly as well. Just the other day, I went into the grocery store to go ahead and pick some items up. And so I was in the line. Even before I got into the line, as I was going into the store, they asked me to put my mask on. I showed my ID. I let them know who I was, so on and so forth. I got into the store, and the manager, under the threat, duress, and coercion, forced me to put my mask on, or else I couldn't go ahead and get any items, right? So, as I was in the line, right, I'm over here just about to go ahead and purchase my items. And so you had the policy enforcers that came into the store, and basically as soon as I seen them, I already knew what time it was, and so I knew it was time to go ahead and stand my square, right? So I made sure that I was the authority in the store, and I made sure that I challenged their jurisdiction, and they basically really couldn't answer my questions, right? And so what he started to do, because he couldn't answer my questions, they then proceeded to try and arrest me. So, you know, they grabbed me and they tried to escort me out the store, right? And so basically they held me, they put me in handcuffs. I was basically put on the trunk of their car. They got back up, right? And as they were doing this, I was still questioning their jurisdiction. Or it was either that or I stayed silent, right? And so what they did was they went into my pockets and everything. They seen my Moorish ID. And as they kept on doing that, I kept on challenging their jurisdiction, and then he come to find out that there's no way that they could arrest me or put me or bring me anywhere, right? Because I'm not in their jurisdiction. One, because I canceled all corporate contracts, and two, because I didn't resist arrest, right? And so when they found that out, they had to give me, I had my bag that they took away. They had to give me back my bag, right? And so as I was standing up on the street corner, mind you, everybody was watching. There's like a big crowd watching. I basically told them to get back to work. I basically told them to go back into their cruisers and go off to where it is that they're going, you know, because I am the law on the land. I kept saying that, and you know, they you could tell they looked embarrassed. They looked super embarrassed. It was to the point where, you know, they tried to they tried to play it off, you know, by talking amongst each other, and then they slowly left as I stood my square, and I stared them down as they did that. And so once they all left, a woman came up to me. Came up to me, and she actually apologized. And it's actually funny that she did that. And yeah, so that's basically the story that happened.
Islam. Islam.
And yeah, that's the power of what can happen when you stay in your power and you stand your square. And you do not answer to them, but you challenge their jurisdiction and you stay noble.
Yes, Islam.
You
know, again, Islam. Go ahead. Go ahead. I hear. Empress first, and then there's a noble speaking as well. Empress, go ahead.
Thank you. I've been saying this one. I don't know if you heard me. I hung up and called back in. I had a question. I actually forgot what it was, but one of the things I saw this week, I saw an attorney draft a contract with a Moor who doesn't know that she's a Moor, and he had a paragraph written in red in lowercase. He's originally from Poland, and he's an attorney. Are they allowed to do that?
They're not allowed to do anything on our land, but she doesn't know that. But when she finds out, she's going to see. They're going to see that they had no authority, and that's how attorneys end up getting leaned out of business, leaned beyond belief, and that's how they end up getting arrest commands sent out to them, and they're very afraid of those. They're very afraid. They should not be doing that because they don't have the authority to be doing any activity on our land, especially where the sovereigns are concerned.
Well, even though the transaction wasn't done with me, I'm still going to lead him because, you know, that's something, you know, finding out here that's special to me. And then you had mentioned a couple weeks ago that we no longer have to show up to the courts. Does that mean we don't have to do quo warranto, jurisdiction, setting papers?
Okay. You have to know why some of us are not showing up to those courts. I don't go because I'm a justice with the Moorish American Consulate and the Moorish National Republic federal government, and it's on the public record because I've been doing court actions. If you have, you need to study the court actions process and study the lien process, and know that before you do any demonstrations. Always demonstrate at the level of your overstanding. Okay, so it's not a situation where we just get something and decide we're not going to go. We actually have to show why we don't have to go, and it's because we have the sovereign jurisdiction, not them. Okay. But you have to actually demonstrate that with court actions and liens, etc.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's fine.
You're welcome, and thank you for your demonstrations, Empress. We have to, and this is for all Moors, we have to know why it is we're doing what we're doing. Okay? Empress Sharon in the chat, don't show up in a private corporation's business pretending to be a government. Islam. We're not going to show up in, because see, those are not really even courts that they're having people go to. Those are corporation business meetings that they were having. They're not even having that anymore. Now they're doing things, they're on their way out the door with all of that madness and mess. You know, but that's because the Moors are actively holding court on our land, you know. And so, Moors, you must be doing court actions and liens, etc., so that you don't have, so that you know why you don't have to go there. I don't have to go there because, number one, they were never talking to me in the first place, and number two, I've already called them into our court and issued judgment and justice. So I'm not worried about that because I know our courts are superior. We are the law and we are the government, and we're going to continue to demonstrate that from nunc pro tunc. Okay? That's never going to stop. So, more, your demonstrations are just amazing. Keep up the awesome work. We're staying focused on nation building. We got this. It's a wrap. It's done. It's finished. It's a wrap for that other mess and that madness that's been on our land. And we're it. So let's keep going. Let's keep moving forward. Islam.
Yes, I want to make you laugh about one of my heirs. I went into Little Caesar's Pizza to pick up some pizza for them, and you know, I didn't have on no mask, and the lady, she kept saying, "Oh no, you gotta have on a mask to come up in here." I said, "No, I don't wear no mask." I said, "I'm a Moorish American national," and then my heir say, "No mask, no mask." No.
How old is the heir, Empress?
She's just 3 years old.
Yes, Islam. She's learning her power also. Islam. Early on. That's awesome. That's what needs to happen. The heirs need to know, and they need to see us demonstrating regularly. That's our job. That's how you raise strong emperors and empresses on this land.
Yes.
You teach them early on. Islam. Islam. So, I love it. I love it. I love it. We got this. I wanted to say one last thing, and I can't. It just slipped my mind. I just put on the screen. You should be able to see on the screen. There are some ancient statues. The top half of the photo on the screen is a ruin from one of our temples. And again, everything we did was temples. It was our courts were temples. Everything was temples. And at the top is the limestone stairs remaining from a structure that is ours in this territory. And I know it's our structure for a number of reasons. Number one, it is definitely ancient, and it's huge. It's actually, I only showed the stairs on the photo, but there's underworkings and infrastructure all over that place. Again, we're sitting on top of, or standing on top of everything that's ours already. Our infrastructure was already here. And that is why we're being given access to such vast resources. It's so that we can rebuild like the photos on the bottom. Okay, the photos on the bottom are of the Angkor Wat temple in, I believe it's Vietnam. But again, our temples that temple is 400 and something acres worth of temple only, not land, but temple. The temple itself was 400 and something acres. And so the reason we are gaining access to as much resources as we have is because we're going to need
Islam?
Islam, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Go ahead, Empress.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So again, we're going to need everything, that all of our resources to rebuild this temple called America, or Amexum, Al-Murak. We're going to need every bit of our resources to rebuild to the grandeur of that our ancestors have for us. And so it's important for us to know that as we proceed, and we are going to need all hands on deck, everyone bringing their talents and gifts and abilities and knowledge to the nation so that we can rebuild. We have to rebuild. So there was someone who had yes, those are the statues at Angkor Wat of us smiling. We're in for some awesome times. We're in for some awesome times. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be fun because it's going to be us building with one another, doing things the way we are inspired to do them. That is the part that is so exciting to me about where we're going, is we are in complete control of everything. We just have to know it and then uncover that control and that resource, and that's what we're doing. So I'm excited for us as a nation because things are about to get so good and be so much fun for us. Yes, we're going to have days where we're going back and forth. We're going to have that, but we're going to have way more fun doing that than we would if there were interlopers and foreigners in there. There won't be any of that. It'll be the heirs doing what we do best, which is building and not tearing down. Islam. And with that, are there any other comments, questions, etc.?
I have a question. Who are the two goddesses in the picture?
You know what? I don't know. The people at Vietnam could probably tell you better than I could. I believe that. No, it's either Cambodia or Vietnam. But it's Angkor Wat. If you look
Angkor Wat.
Thank you.
It's Islam.
Cambodia.
It's
Actually,
Cambodia.
Yes, Islam is Cambodia. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. We love our Cambodian family. We love them. So our Cambodian kin, they have managed to keep a lot of the temples and things intact so that we would know what our temples should look like, or at least know how grand they are so that we will have something to gauge what we build by. And you'd be surprised at how much of that is here, but it's covered up. A lot of it is covered up by mud and dirt and sand and built on top of it by roads and all of that. It's up to us to uncover that. I see plenty of it here. And now that I know what to look for, if you see a place in the middle of a city with a bunch of trees, like in New York Central Park, where they're not developing that area, it's just a nice park with trees, that means there's something under there that they know they can't build on because it belongs to the heirs. And I've learned how to look that stuff up here. Here, that most of the streets that are dead-end streets, and at the end of the dead end, there's this group of trees, and they won't get rid of that group of trees. There's usually a fire hydrant and a power source nearby that lead to seemingly nothing, but our stuff is there. Our buildings are there. Our structures, our limestone structures that last throughout the end of time. They've been there and are going to be there. They have whole cities sitting on top of them, and they're still there. All they need is for us to uncover them. And so I'm learning how to look for that. I asked the ancestors publicly to show me the ancient markers, and they have just really gone on in with that piece right there. You know, you cannot ask the ancestors to show you something without them hitting a home run with it. They're going to show you all and more, everything that you ask them to show you and more. And that's coming from within. No one here had to tell me that that was an ancient marker. I knew it when I saw it in my spirit. And then comparing the limestones to the limestone of Angkor Wat and a lot of the other places and seeing how it's covered up, and then doing more research around that whole area and seeing all of the infrastructure that's there. Still there, not moved. It has a lot of overgrowth and some dirt on top of it, but it's still there. Yes, so those are the things we're going to be rebuilding, and we're going to need all of our resources to do that so that we can continue the Grand Rising. If there are no other questions or comments, Islam?
I have a comment. This is Professor. I had a meeting online with the county on Thursday, and they're getting prepared to do school online again this year. So we had an equity meeting, and they were talking about labels and why we shouldn't label this person and label that person. And so I told them, I said, well, yeah, we label people every day like you all have done, myself and my ancestors, and they asked me for clarity. And I told them they labeled us as black, Negro, and colored, or African American. It took us outside of the human family. Now we're not descendable, and they would beat. They cut all me off. I don't mean to laugh, but they cut the whole conference was over then. So one of my colleagues texted me and asked me what happened, and I said I don't know. So I'm trying to get back in, because I want to continue my meeting. But they just sent everybody a big email that the server went down and we'll be resuming speaking on Friday. And then Friday I couldn't get an assistant. This is just great.
Wow.
But
wow.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that happened. And then my husband and I went to Ozzy's, and he's a chef by trade, and he always want to have on a mask, and he's like a sleepy Moor. So we go to Ozzy's, and I don't have my mask. He's like, Carla, here you go, and I told him I'm not putting on that. She said, come on, Carla, please, they're not going to let us in. They're going to let us in because we're going to spend some tea and we're going to eat lunch here. So we went in, and then the next day we went to BJ's, and I didn't have a mask on. And I walked in, and he said, Carla, today going to be the day. So I just walk on in, and he's behind me with his mask on looking sleepy and sad. And I go in, and the Caucasian lady started hollering at me, and I think she annoyed me more by not asking me to put on a mask, but by calling me ma'am. And I must have got a little bit of y'all up in me, and I told her, don't you ever call me that, whatever you do. And she told me to leave. I said to go get a manager. Her manager came. I said what I said, showed her my ID, and she said she apologized for the inconvenience and told me go shop. So by then I'm mad. I don't want nothing.
Islam. We're not at war with them, but Empress, we do have to stand. So you stood. Islam. They can't really, they can't act like they don't know who we are anymore. We're right here. Everyone knows we're here. It's all good. So just go ahead and stand down. They know that. Islam. Great demonstration, Empress. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If there be no other questions or comments, etc., peace and grand rising to the sovereign,
grand rising,
mighty, powerful heir, Islam.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Peace and love.
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Grand rising. Peace and love.
Grand rising.
Peace and love.
Islam. Grand rising. Grand rising, Empress. Grand rising.
Grand rising, Islam.
Grand rising.
Islam. Grand rising. Grand rising. Peace. Islam.
Grand rising, peace and love, Islam.
Islam.
Much love, grand rising.
Yes, much love. Peace. Islam. Islam.